Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're taking a seriously fascinating journey through the three core pillars of modern wealth creation. We're going to decode the psychological traps that keep so many of us broke, lay out the foundational personal finance principles you need to actually break free. And finally, we'll look under the hood of the modern AI machines that internet creators are using right now to accelerate their wealth. It's basically a complete roadmap from being a consumer to becoming a creator. And honestly, it all starts right here, inside your head.
Okay, let's dive right into this, because to understand modern money, we actually need to look backwards at an 18th century French philosopher named Denis Diderot. So Diderot lived most of his life in near poverty, but in 1765, Catherine the Great of Russia heard he was struggling, and she basically bought his personal library for the equivalent of about $50,000 today. So suddenly, Diderot had cash. And what did he do? Well, he bought a beautiful, luxurious scarlet robe. But the exact moment he brought that gorgeous robe into his humble home, everything went completely sideways. He realized his old desk looked terrible next to the new robe, so he bought a new desk. And then, a new rug from Damascus. Then, beautiful new sculptures. Bam, bam, bam. He fell right into a massive, totally uncontrolled spending spiral, all triggered by just one single new possession. And that drops us right into the greatest psychological mystery of money, doesn't it? Why is making money so often easier than actually keeping it? This whole phenomenon is the root of what financial authors famously call the rat race. You work incredibly hard to earn more, but your desires automatically scale up to match or even exceed your no income. You get a raise, so you buy a bigger house, take a fancier vacation, and boom, suddenly you're right back where you started, completely beholden to your paycheck. To escape this rat race, we really have to understand exactly what is happening in our brains the second we swipe that credit card.
You see, our brains are quite literally wired against building wealth, all thanks to this cognitive bias known as hyperbolic discounting. Behavioral scientists from the Decision Lab explain that as human beings, we strongly prefer certainty over risk, and waiting is just incredibly difficult for us. Think about it from an evolutionary standpoint. Our ancestors weren't planning for a retirement that was 40 years away, right? They just needed to survive today. Because of this hardwiring, we prioritize instant gratification, like the thrill of a brand new purchase, over long-term security. We subconsciously apply this massive discount to any future rewards, which essentially blinds us to the mathematical superpower of compound interest.
And this brilliantly illustrates how hyperbolic discounting and Diderot's spending spiral merge in our modern world. The author James Clear perfectly captures this with a super relatable scenario. He bought a new car. Well, suddenly that car needed a new tire gauge, then a cell phone charger, then a seatbelt cutter, a first aid kit, emergency blankets. The crazy part? For 10 years with his old car, he never needed any of this stuff. But the new purchase triggered an immediate, rapid-fire chain reaction of consumption. The pressure to just constantly upgrade our stock of stuff is relentlessly one-directional. To build wealth, we have to actively break this psychological chain. So how do we defeat these hardwired cognitive biases? Well, it requires shifting our focus from the psychological traps to the cure. We need a rigid, foundational strategy for personal finance, an escape plan from the consumption matrix.
Part 1. The money. Building the escape plan. The real bedrock of this escape plan requires a total paradigm shift in how we view the things we buy. Now, the book Rich Dad, Poor Dad often sparks debate, and critics rightly point out the author's controversial history and, questionable real estate advice. However, if you strip all of that away, the book introduces a universally agreed-upon concept that completely changes how people view wealth. It completely redefines assets and liabilities. Forget all the complex accounting jargon. An asset is simply something that puts money into your pocket. A liability takes money out of your pocket. So, a heavily mortgaged luxury home that drains your monthly cash flow? That's a liability. A dividend-paying stock or a profitable online business? That is an asset.
And that brings us to the kind of unglamorous reality of what actual wealth looks like, as detailed in the landmark study, The Millionaire Next Door. True millionaires rarely drive Ferraris or wear scarlet robes. Wealth is built through defense. It's built by living strictly below your means, respecting a household budget, and just totally avoiding those luxury status symbols that trigger the Diderot effect. The authors of the study found that high-income earners are actually frequently cash poor. Why? Because they play financial offense by making a lot of money, but they play absolutely zero financial defense.
But once you actually master that financial defense, you can aim for the ultimate goal, financial independence. This is the core engine of the FIRE movement, which stands for Financial Independence, Retire Early.
The mathematical baseline for FIRE is known as the 4% rule, originally introduced by financial planner William Benjamin. The whole theory here is that if you can aggressively save and invest until your portfolio is exactly 25 times your annual living expenses, you can safely withdraw 4% of that portfolio every single year in retirement, theoretically without ever running out of money.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is how the internet has customized this 25x math into different lifestyle flavors. You've got lean FIRE for extreme frugality and fat FIRE for a more luxurious retirement that, of course, requires a massive portfolio. Coast FIRE focuses on front-loading your investments while you're young and just letting compound interest do the rest. And barista FIRE involves stepping down to a low-stress part-time job. Though it is definitely worth neutrally noting that economists and critics frequently point out some very real hurdles to this movement. For instance, accessing tax-advantaged accounts before age 59 and a half carries penalties, and paying out of pocket for healthcare before you qualify for Medicare at 65 can seriously deplete a portfolio. So, knowing that we need 25 times our annual expenses is great, but relying solely on extreme frugality, that takes decades. So how are modern internet creators funding these massive savings goals at warp speed? Well, they do it by building digital side hustles. They build the machine.
Part 2. The machine. Accelerating the process.
And here is the ultimate irony of the modern internet economy. The exact same human behaviors we talked about in Act 1, our deep desire for instant gratification, our tendency toward hyperbolic discounting, our urge to click on flashy new things, are the exact tools modern creators exploit to capture attention and generate cash flow. Content creators actively trigger what marketing strategist Faizan Ali calls the pre-cognitive validation loop. Basically, they structure content to tap into our unspoken thoughts, making it feel so personal and urgent that we just can't look away.
One of the absolutely most powerful ways they capture this attention is through a strategy called trendjacking. Let's say you want to explain a complex financial concept. If you title your explainer, How Luxembourg Manages Its Debt, literally nobody clicks. But if you trendjack an established cultural phenomenon and title it The Wolf of Wall Street Scam Explained Like You're 5, curiosity immediately kicks in. You're piggybacking on existing audience awareness. You are giving the brain a familiar instant reward, effectively hacking the viewer's hyperbolic discounting bias.
And today, creators are scaling this psychological capture using artificial intelligence. We looked at a really detailed breakdown from a YouTube creator known as AI Maskman, who outlined the meticulous 4-step blueprint behind these highly profitable, faceless finance channels. Step 1 is mining outlier topics using that trend-jacking strategy we just talked about. Step 2 is using prompt engineering in ChatGPT to ideate unique angles. Step 3 uses AI models like Claude to generate long-form scripts. And finally, Step 4 utilizes AI image generators and editing software like Filmora to stitch all the visuals together. So the crucial point is this: lazy AI output completely fails. Just pumping out raw, unedited AI content results in a boring, lifeless product that nobody watches. The creators making actual money apply deep human curation. They take the time to clean up the AI scripts so they sound natural. They lock in consistent character references so the visual style doesn't constantly jump around. They apply a subtle 115% cinematic zoom to static images so the content feels dynamic and not like some dull slideshow. And they painstakingly edit the audio pacing to ensure the viewer's attention never drops. They treat AI as a really powerful assistant, not a total replacement for human effort. Which brings us to our conclusion. We've seen how our brains are wired to spend, how true assets generate cash flow, and how modern creators use AI to capture attention and build their own financial independence. The internet is highly, highly efficient at transferring wealth from those seeking instant gratification to those providing it. So I'm going to leave you with this final provocative thought to take away from this explainer. When you open your phone today, are you trapped in the Diderot effect as a consumer, or are you leveraging these tools and financial principles to build your own independence? Are you building the machine or just feeding it? Thanks so much for learning with us today.